Great, then I don't have to tell the joke. I already got the laugh.
No, proceed, please.
All right. The Pope and an attorney go to heaven.
Yeah.
And they're met there by St. Peter. And he said, good afternoon, gentlemen. Welcome to heaven. I hope you'll have a good time. Now, I'm going to take you both to your homes. Who would like to go first? And the Pope said, well, by all means, you'll take Mr. Simon, the attorney, to his house first. I can wait. So they drive up to this house, and it is 5 acres of the most lush, spectacular home you've ever seen. Tennis court, pool, putting green, golf course.
Lovely.
14,000 square, English tutor, brand new, servants, everything. He said, well, Mr. Simon, this is your home. And the attorney says, well, thank you very much. He says, I hope you'll be comfortable. Call me. If you're not, we'll get you a couple of cars. And there's a Rolls Royce in the driveway. He says, terrific. And he says, now, Mr. Pope, if your Holiness, if you'll come with me, we'll take you to your house. Now, the Pope is going crazy inside because he figures if Simon the attorney got this house, he is going to get a place that is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, hard to keep up.
Hour later, they're in the worst section you've ever seen in your life.
Worst section of heaven.
Pull up a car. It's a cardboard house. The wind is blowing. There are sheets on it as a roof. He said, Your Holiness, this is your home. He said, wait a minute. He said, you just gave Simon the attorney the most palatial estate I've ever seen in my life, and you're giving me a cardboard house? How can you do that? He said, well, we've had popes here before. Simon is our first attorney.
That's a sweet story.
Yes, it's a good one against lawyers if you don't like them.
Well, the attorneys all over America aren't too amused, but...
I think they're busy right now swindling people, no, that's a dumb statement.
And if they
Just a joke. It was a harmless little twitbag joke. Go ahead.
If they are Catholic attorneys, then they would be ambivalent in their response.
Thank you.
And so would you if I saw you in the water.
Thank you very much.
That's amphibious, I'm sorry.
Yes.
We have to stop for just a moment. But
what are we
Thanks, Mark.
stopping? That's the question.
I'm worried Mark is going to say we have to stop for just a moment, and it won't be for a commercial. He just wants us to stop.
Just stop the nonsense.
Yes. Hi, Herb.
But we'll continue with Pope jokes and Jimmy the Geek stories. And
keep this high-class thing for Cincinnati. You may have lost Pete Rose as a player, but you're gaining this show.
We'll be back in just a moment with the Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network.
Hi, this is Steve Allen. We hope you're enjoying the show on the NBC Radio Network, and we invite you to tune in at this time every day.
You're listening to the Steve Allen Show. With us this hour, Bob Einstien, star of the Super Dave Osborne Show on Showtime, Herb Sargent. This is Mark Simone, and once again, here's Steve Allen.
What is the reason for that?
Boy, is that an editorial comment?
A little pale today or something? Blue shadows under my eyes and I'm getting spooky music?
It's a suspenseful show.
Are we going to have the sleazy news maybe later?
If you'd like.
Sure, we always
like. You run the show.
You know what we will have later, gentlemen?
Is a sandwich.
Of course. We are accustomed to having the funniest people in show business on our show.
When was this? It's just us.
No, I mean, we have all the great comedy writers, all the great comedians in their turn passing through our portals. But we make occasional exceptions, and we will have the wunderkind of television programming. Now, how many other comedians do you know outside of those who work in the Austrian circuit?
Right. I thought you were talking about Sid Caesar.
Say wunderkind. Now, I'm talking about Brandon Tartikoff.
When is he coming on?
He will be on in a few days. We don't know yet quite the day.
The man that gave us Crime Story.
Yes, and aren't we grateful? One of the great shows. No, seriously, Brandon Tartikoff is one of the ablest of the television programmers.
He's very funny, too.
Yes, he is.
He is. I know for a fact.
I agree.
A witty, bright,
You can't even say anything dumb about him, which is too bad when you're talking about a programmer.
Anyway, he will be here, and perhaps it might be interesting, Mark, that day if we schedule some phone call time.
I'll call in.
And ask for a show.
Yeah.
And we'll see what folks might want to say to Mr. Tartikoff, who, we should explain, runs things at NBC. And is personally very largely responsible for the fact that the network has been in #1 position for several years now, most of the time. So,
but he was bright enough to buy and place the Bill Cosby Show in a strategic position, and it went through the absolute roof,
yes,
causing him to have a hit night, which eventually led to a strong schedule.
He also,
He also, however, had the good taste, not necessarily out of selfish concern about ratings, sort of panicking.
Yeah, he kept some real good shows
He
on.
kept Hill Street Blues
Yeah.
on when it was quite clear it was just too good to ever get giant ratings. He did
Cheers.
exactly the same thing with Cheers, exactly the same thing with St. Elsewhere.
Right, and Alf.
Among the best shows. Now, I pass over that. I happen to like Alf, by
So
the
do
way.
I. I don't even know him, and I like him.
Any little brown thing that talks like that.
Well, Jimmy.
I don't want to seem racist, but anyway, it's a cute show.
Why don't we
But
try
he-
and get Jimmy the Greek on?
Why not?
Right now, what a great idea.
It's a great idea, Mark.
And you know what? We can ask him about. We can
No.
get him to say the
You know,
exact same thing
there-
again.
It is possible to argue that there has been, as Bill Cosby was suggesting, some degree of injustice here. I suppose if you spread all the words that Jimmy said in the instance in question on a bulletin board, you might find that you agreed with 3 or 4 of them and found that a couple of them were
He
kind of
said
dumb.
some interesting things. The
You know
fact,
what was interesting? They had a show over the weekend where he appeared with a couple of experts
hmm
on
What race were the experts of, if I may ask?
they were airline pilots who were going to take
it
him
was
out
a
of the
Dr.
country.
Dr. Schlockley.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
some news program actually took the trouble to call some expert professors to analyze everything
Oh,
that
I
the man
saw
said.
Yes.
That was with Yasser Arafat.
No, really, what was the outcome?
Well, that everything that he said was erroneous, but it was funny that they went to all this trouble to break down every word of what he had to say.
No, I think it's important that we analyze that. Now, to play devil's advocate here, and after which I will play Honeysuckle Rose.
You know how long I've wanted you to play devil's advocate.
Devil's advocate, you're just a little Dickens.
It's my favorite
You're
song
my
you ever wrote.
devil's advocate. When you hear the plot thickens. Anyway, to get back to common sense, if that's ever even possible, or if we were there in the first place. It can be construed that Jimmy intended and did, in fact, compliment blacks by saying, what I understood him to say, that they were physically superior to whites. Now,
Yes.
did he say that, yes or no?
He ran through the stoplight of good taste, as we say. He
Why don't-
started off okay by saying that the reason black athletes were better is because white athletes are lazy.
I don't
was
think
okay.
that was only part of his argument.
I
Part
know.
of it
I mean,
had to
but
do
that
with,
was okay. That's not insulting anyone. That's
that's
claims,
insulting whites.
Well, but he's saying he's looking at athletes and he's saying that white athletes don't try as hard as black athletes.
But I don't think anybody feels there was anything hateful in what he had to say. It was so
The
imbecilic.
dumbest thing he said was, if they had black coaches, then there'd be no place for whites.
Yeah, that
that
does-
was a dumbbell time.
Yeah, all right.
Followed up by the plantation reference, which was dunce time.
Now, let's get to that. Let's talk about the plantation reference.
Yes.
We all would be united, and I'm sure Jimmy would be the leader of the parade, that slavery was a blot, a scandal, a moral outrage on history itself. Okay, we're not talking about let's go back to slavery. But is it not the case that the white slave owners, the plantation owners, did in fact...
Watch, wait a minute. Don't say this because you're going to be gone.
No.
Cosby will have it. Don't even get it. No, I'm
it's a
worried about
question.
you.
Starting tomorrow, the
You-
Bob Einstien show
Yes,
on this
I'm
network.
very concerned about this.
And our guest today,
It's
Steve
like
Allen.
someone sucked you into this.
Mark, you have
Don't
20
go
seconds
on.
now.
I put it in the form
Take
of
a break, Mark, please.
in the form of a
Get him in a
question.
headlock.
In the form, I repeat, of a
No,
question.
don't even bother with
Stuff
it.
a sandwich in
What's
his mouth,
gonna
quick.
I'm trying to.
Where's the chameleon book?
It's not when we need it.
Stuff the book
there
in
must
his
be a
mouth.
word we don't know. Get the dictionary.
Chameleons come in different colors, and they can change them, which we can't do.
That's right.
I'm going back to this
You
question.
can't make this work, I promise you. Because you're going to say,
I-
what is wrong with saying, and there's a lot wrong with
Well,
the
then
way
I
you
want
said
you
it.
to enlighten us.
I think
Well,
you should wait a minute. You should discuss it during the next break and then decide.
I
whether-
agree. Thank you
Yes.
so
Are
much.
you serious, Herb?
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
common sense.
I think
You're
the
fired.
lesson.
How do you like that?
Yes.
I think the lesson we've all learned is entertainment and anthropology don't mix.
That's a good thing. To do that as a song, entertainment and anthropology don't mix. But don't
Entertainment.
use the words I think you're going into. Plantation owners.
We'll be right back.
That's what you think.
A glass of cotton gin, please, while I'm waiting here.
But we'll get to the sleazy news. There's lots more coming up.
I'd get to it right after the commercial if I were you.
We'll be back in a
Man
moment
bites himself
with the
in
Steve
the
Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network. You're listening to the Steve Allen Show. Bob Einstien is with us. Herb Sargent. The sleazy news coming up in just a moment.
It's the best joke we've ever had, and Steve got
We
it.
don't
You
even
can't
tell
use
jokes
it.
anymore. We just go right to the laughs.
No,
No,
Saves time.
don't say what was said.
no,
You can't.
there's
No.
nothing wrong, Bob. What must Cincinnati think? They've just tuned into this conversation, and here we are haggling. I was talking to Marvin Hagler himself about this.
Yesterday, and he said, "Let Jimmy the Greek go so I could punch him in the face."
We've been canceled in Cincinnati already, but it was a great 28 minutes.
You forgot to thank Pro Piano.
CINCINCITTA. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, yes, we were just speculating, Bob and I, here in the Speculorum room, as to why blacks are physically superior, which manifests itself in football, in boxing,
Oh, we're out of time. Well,
just a moment.
It's the Avon man.
And Bob was agreeing with me that there is a physicality and equipment, a matter of length of tendons and size of muscles. And so, what do you mean,
I didn't
whoops?
get into. I didn't
And you
get into
yourself,
that.
Bob just said, Jews can't jump as well as blacks.
I said you
And
can't
I
put
said-
litmus paper underneath my tennis shoes when I play
But
ball. because
thank God they don't
Jews
have
are
to.
Not, Jews are not notorious for jumping, and Steve said.
And I said Joe Bushkin jumped like mad. He's a Jewish jazz player many years ago. And last week, too, come to think.
Anyway, that was a great joke, and it's way over everyone's head. So let's just go on into something else.
Steve, I think you should write about it.
All right, fine.
I think you should write write an essay about it or something.
I shall.
Yes.
Thank
What
you,
would you
Herbert.
call it? No, he's not being serious.
No,
What he's
I am
trying to
being
say to
ser-
you is don't talk on the air
No,
about it.
no, I am being serious.
That I shall, Herb. It's a very
Yes.
good thought. I
And
think,
what would you call
I
it?
think well on paper.
What would you call
Yes.
it?
The
then-
only answers that occur to me are funny ones.
Then you
which
can
can't
have
use.
Jimmy the Greek come on and read it.
Yes.
but the
You
big
know, you and I did that once, but we can't say what we did. We did a kind of an ethnic put-on, and the person came the next night, and you
Yes.
said to this person who was the head of this situation, "Here, read the script. You'll see it's funny," and he almost did.
Yes.
But the question is, what will Jimmy the Greek do now?
Oh, I think he'll probably do the Late Show a couple of times. And that'll be it.
I think it's more interesting why Jimmy the Greek and what's his name, the other Greek last few months ago did
That's
the same
what
thing.
I said. I think
Yeah.
it's a disease
what is
of
that?
Greek gentlemen in sports when they get over
You realize
65.
now you're putting me on. You're going to get 800 letters
No,
from
I
Greeks.
said Greek gentlemen. It's a joke. A Greek gentleman in
A
sports.
Greek gentleman is not a joke.
But
Now, you personally don't like George
it's a
Givet,
fact.
the Greek ambassador of goodwill.
I know that. My father did a Greek. I love Greeks.
Your father
I'm
was
just
Mark
saying-
Yukakis.
We have to
Yes.
stop for just a moment. We'll return
Oh,
to All in the
boy.
Family in
Get
just
back
a
to
moment.
this
We'll be
saloon
back
brawl
with
in a minute.
back with Archie and Edith in just a moment
Bring me a
on the
drink.
Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network.
Hello, this is Steve Allen. Glad you joined us to laugh it up. Hope you stay tuned to the Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network.
You're listening to the Steve Allen Show. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, the Sleazy News. With us this hour, Bob Einstein, star of the Super Dave Osborne Show on Showtime. Herb Sargent. This is Mark Simone. And now, here's Steve Allen.
For our new Cincinnati listeners, Herb Sargent has for the last dozen or so years been connected with Saturday Night Live and has written for a number of America's favorite comedians theretofore.
And you might want to explain who you are.
Explain to the kids
I
the way
choose,
you do, the way you only can do
I
it.
choose to remain elusive and subliminal.
See, kids, years ago there was a television show called The Tonight Show, and Steve was the host. And then, go ahead. And then he was on The Tonight Show, and then he got his own show, which was also on, and it became too much for him. So he said, I can only do one show. Then he did one show, The Tonight Show, and he did it for many years. And then he did The Steve Allen Show, and The Steve Allen Show, and The Steve Allen Show. And now, after 6,000 books, 4,682 songs, 5,181 memos, he now has his own radio show. And that brings us up to date. Although we did not bring in Janie Bird, his wife of many years, who from time to time will come in and laugh for an hour.
I wish I had a spokesperson. That's what I need.
Well, we have the sleazy news.
Great.
Okay, we'll get to that in a moment. What we might profitably do later, Mark, is seriously now, I'm not kidding, open up the phone calls and ask some of our black listeners, in all seriousness, or they can horse around if they
I don't
want to.
think we have any left.
No, I
I
happen
don't think we had any to begin with.
No, we get calls from black folks from time to time. You know, this puts me in mind of a terribly embarrassing situation of about 20 years ago, and the folks embarrassed were all the members of the Church of the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons as they're called for short. There was a rule for a very long time, many decades, in that particular church that only whites could be admitted to the priesthood.
That's right.
And so eventually, when America's blacks found out about this, it naturally didn't make too big a hit with them, as a result of which there were about 3.5 black Mormons in the world, you know. And it finally became a public issue. Life magazine ran a big feature about it. So they went to the gentleman who was at the time the equivalent of the Pope, let's say, the leader of the Church of the Latter-day Saints, and they asked him about it. And in his public statement, his official response, he inadvertently said something which has become a classic in American humor of the unintended sort. And if I didn't have the actual clipping from Life magazine, I wouldn't believe it myself. I'm paraphrasing the general thrust of his statements, but it was very nice, and he was trying to be a nice guy about it. He said, "Oh, I've been very much misunderstood on this." He said, "I don't perceive myself, or certainly not the church, as in any way racist. And blacks have contributed a great deal to," he didn't say the word blacks, he said Negroes and so forth, "have contributed a great deal to our nation." He said about 14 very nice things, you know, about blacks. And he said, and speaking for the moment just personally, he said, "Some of my best friends..."
No.
Yes, here it comes. "Some of my best friends are darkies."
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
True story.
Then he walked off on his ankles.
So
He got a powder puff
he
in the
was doing
face.
great for about the first 10 minutes. And then
People are not funny. People are stupid. Anytime you start making remarks like that, you can't.
Well,
make it
okay,
sound
Mark.
right.
Now, what items have you for us in the news?
It's time now for the sleazy news. These are items from those sleazy papers you see at checkout counters all over America. The supermarket news. From the Weekly World News, this headline: 78-year-old woman gives birth.
To what?
Oh, boy.
To 47-year-old baby boy.
To a brand new car. What?
78-year-old woman gives birth to bouncing baby boy.
You know what's amazing about this story? She was in labor for 62 years. Her husband died in the Lamaze training.
And now she's in management, but it's all right how these things
Seriously.
turn out.
The woman amazed her doctors by producing a natural,
I
normal,
bet.
healthy
Bet
baby
she
boy.
amazed her doctors.
After 30,
I'm amazed, Mrs. Tillman. I thought you were just overweight.
after 30,
That's why we sent you to Richard Simmons, and now look how it turned out.
Wheel over here, Mr. Tillman, so I can yell in your earphone and tell you you're a father. Go ahead.
Where did this happen?
in Karvina, Czechoslovakia.
Well, see, in Czechoslovakia, women's ages are the same as dogs. For every 7 years, they're 10 years.
I
So
see.
she
Send
was
your
really
postcards.
21.
Send your postcards directly to Bob Einstien,
Prague, Czechoslovakia, Prague.
care of box RACIST, ethnicity Long Island.
She said she can't explain how she became pregnant.
Oh, she can't explain that.
Oh, she forgot how she became pregnant.
It was so long ago.
She's a retired school teacher,
Uh-huh.
and she says she's happy. She's always wanted a baby.
I'd be happy, too.
Yes, but
Do you
she's
think she could go right on the Ed Sullivan Show now if he were on?
yes, she is going to have the kids' breakfast from room service, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe she gave birth to a grandchild.
She always wanted a grandchild.
Yes.
She just skipped the middleman.
Oh, what a grandchild that is.
Can you imagine back to school night? This is my mother. Wake up.
Longevity runs in the family. She says her mother is 99 and in good health.
And is pregnant.
That's wonderful. If we ever find out what's causing it.
She has a 1-year-old
78 years
sister.
old.
She has a what?
A 1-year-old sister. Right.
Yeah. Come on out and play. Well, what are they going to do with this baby? What was it, a boy or a girl?
It was a boy. She says now, she's single. She says she may get married because of this.
My goodness.
Well, the husband doesn't have a job yet. He's young.
They'll send the kid out in the backyard to play with a walker.
That's correct. Come here, Walker.
Tell them to look out for the speed bumps on the sidewalk. But go right ahead.
Seriously.
Now, here's one of your typical supermarket stories.
Mm-hmm.
Giant UFO carries off science teacher. A young science teacher claims to have been abducted by a UFO.
Let's call that person.
Well,
seriously.
Should be easy. It says he's in Kagoshima, Japan.
Oh, that would be a little tough.
How big was the UFO?
He says it was the size of a 747 jetliner.
Mm-hmm. And the captain looked exactly like the pilot of a 747 jetliner. And the ticket you had to buy said United Airlines.
Seatbelts, and you're going to see moment by moment.
Yeah, one clue was his luggage was missing when he got back.
No, the clue that it was UFO if the luggage had been there.
It was a United flying object, not unidentified. He misread the print.
His name is Masao Sekioki.
Sekioki? This is the sickest yoki I ever heard.
He says that he was simply walking along when the UFO
minding
landed.
his business.
UFO landed.
He was walking in the park, and he said a silver pedestal came out.
Uh-huh.
He said the aliens were bald and had lidless eyes.
No, it was a silver pedophile. That's what came out.
No, it was Don Rickles. He was in Japan at the time, performing at the Yoshiki nightclub.
He said otherwise they looked like Americans in shiny yellow suits.
A rock group.
The shiny yellow suits, ladies and gentlemen.
He said they communicated by making clicking noises and grunts.
Uh-huh. There is an African language. I think it's called Chota.
Right. Also, the front four of the Washington Redskins do that.
Miriam Makeba. It sounds like a cross between conversation and a ping pong game.
Yeah.
Those are actually... I just said something off color in Chota.
Well, this sounds like a man you'd want teaching your kids science, doesn't it?
Yes.
Did he come back already?
Yeah, he's back and he's teaching again.
What was it like where he went?
He said he stayed on the ship about 3 hours. He saw Venus and Mercury. And got a close-up.
Having a drink, or what do you mean he saw them?
No, they were at a local nightclub.
Hi, Venus. Hi, Mercury.
Come in and see Venus and Mercury.
Said he was also fortunate enough to get a close-up view of the sun.
I bet.
Yes.
Look at this.
His rods and cones are now in shorter supply, unfortunately.
That's not the sun, that's the moon.
Well, now here's a great story from the Weekly World News.
All right.
Bald man grows hair with plant food.
Oh, boy.
Wow, but on his what?
On his plants. That's all.
Where'd he grow the hair?
In his yard.
The hairiest roses
Could have been
in
on
town.
his kneecaps. Wouldn't be so funny on
No,
this
it's on his plants.
No, it's out in the yard. He's got a yard full of hair.
That's right. Hairiest roses in town.
He said he used the plant food on his scalp and it worked, growing hair.
A likely story.
But instead of dandruff, he has thorns now.
And what is it? Do they have a picture of him?
They have a picture.
He's pruning his head.
The gardener comes in once a week and does his hair.
Prunehead, that's his name. Like from Dick Tracy. Remember him?
Cut this.
He said he noticed how well the plant food worked in the soil, and he thought he'd experiment with it.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very bright man. And did it smell at all, do you think, after a while?
It did. It did. I wonder if the hair stays in the winter, though.
I don't know.
No, it turns brown.
Wait till he mows the nape of his neck and
You
finds
got to put a
out.
sprinkler in the scalp, too. It's a little annoying at a meeting.
There's a sprinkler in the scalp by and by. It's an old Western.
It's a good one.
He said he put the plant food on his scalp and then watered it daily. And within a couple of weeks, noticed some growth.
First you put the plant food
on the scalp, then you rub it in around and you yell for help. That's how hair...
planting my food.
The only thing he's got to stay away from is laying on the lawn when it's dog season. Because someone
Just
could
a moment.
try to uproot his brain.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
Yes, a dog could try to bury a bone in his
Okay,
head.
sorry,
I wasn't doing the old...
I canceled the bell with
Thank
one
you
of my
very
whistles.
But now he has to carry a trowel in his back pocket.
to comb his hair.
Honey, you got a dry trowel?
Right. The bad thing is he's got one of those blowers that he blows the hair all over the office when he's through.
And the guy with one of those on his back comes in.
Yeah.
We have to pause for just a moment, but we'll continue with the sleazy news and more on The Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network.
You're listening to The Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network. We hope you'll join us every day at this time.
You're listening to The Steve Allen Show. Bob Einstein is here. Herb Sargent. This is Mark Simone, and once again, here's Steve Allen.
Yeah, back again, bigger and better than ever, ladies and gentlemen.
You've never looked better, Steve. I have to say that.
It's because I had my hair styled. I'm wearing a shirt and a tie.
Magnificent outfit.
No pants, no underwear, just a shirt and a tie.
Still works.
Yeah. No, Jane and I are being interviewed later today.
By
hook or by crook. I don't know, some journalist, I suppose. And there's going to be a photographer.
Well, you certainly look ready for your picture. You look
am.
good today.
Ready, willing, and able. What else is up, Mark?
Well, we have more of the sleazy news.
We're ready.
Here is a shocking headline from the Weekly World News.
Wait till I brace myself.
Newlywed shocker. Couple find out too late they're brother and sister.
Oh, that's an ancient literary construct.
Boy, oh boy.
And what do you mean, too late?
Well, they were already married.
I see. Well,
Didn't they get a hint when the parents were on both the sides? The same people gave away the bride and groom. Wouldn't that be a hint?
Wouldn't that be a dead giveaway?
Yes.
They were
What are the details?
They were separated in infancy and adopted by different parents.
Ah, that's the explanation.
Now, what are they going to do? I hope they said, nice meeting you, and we'll see you around sis.
No, neither knew who their real parents were until it was too late.
I see. Well, they could go on being married, but they should not have offspring. Either that or not have children. Because they could have something that would go springing off into the bush.
If they have children, it will be an offspring.
It'll jump over the fence
Exactly,
and
it'll
eat a
have
carrot.
one spring instead of a foot. And that'll be it.
They should not have issue.
Or Ishtar. They should not see Ishtar. No, what are they getting divorced or annulled?
They don't know what to do.
I'll tell them. Get annulled or divorced.
Annulled.
'Cause
Null
they'll
and
be-
void.
If they don't, they'll be in the Weekly World News in about 9 months again. Husband and wife give birth to foot. But who's walking?
I think I should give it a chance.
I knew you would.
What do you mean?
Give it a chance.
You're too easygoing, Herb.
Love letters in the sand.
I mean-
No more than Mr. Nice Guy.
I mean, couples have all kinds of problems. You know, they should
You
just
know, you're
work it
right.
out somehow.
Yeah.
Sure.
Marriage is not an easy state.
No,
Neither
it
is
isn't.
Wyoming. Well, we love you, Ohio. We're
about
currying
Wyoming?
favor. We're currying rice.
It might be the ideal marriage. They could adopt children, and it might be terrific. You never
Yeah,
know.
you got a
never
point.
know.
See, as a writer, you would work
But
out a plot
don't you
development.
think you would roll around in bed sometimes thinking about being married to your sister?
It might
Even
be
though you didn't know it was?
It might be quite exciting. You know, you never know.
Well, perhaps I'm touching new ground with you, Herbie. Why am I waking up a part of Herb we never knew about?
Sibling Freudian...
Sibling upset stomach is what it makes. Herb is very excited about this.
Also, this story.
Mom always liked you best.
That's correct. That could be the line of
An
the
argument. What's the story?
A picture of a very, very elegant party. And then this headline.
Mother marries father.
Gate-crashing winos ruin wine tasting party.
Oh, how?
3 bums chug-a-lug $500,000 worth of high-class booze.
I doubt the figure.
Well, they thought they were taking the Pepsi taste test.
How did they crash the gate dressed as bums?
Well, it was a wine tasting party for an elite group of American and European connoisseurs.
Uh-huh.
The trio of
Oh, wait a
tramp...
minute, Steve's going to sleep. Just a minute, he's just yawning.
If
That's all
we
right.
were on TV, I would disguise my yawn, but you're
okay.
the only
No,
one
it's all
seeing
right.
it, Bob, and why must you be a blabbermouth?
Well, what did they think that noise was?
Oh, could you hear the yawn, Herb?
Of
Yes.
course.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're on radio.
I
too,
stand
you know.
corrected, and I should. I'm
It's
wearing
not just
surgical
you and
hose.
me- Not just you and me talking, you know.
That's what...
When you go, whoa, we can hear that.
I thought it was a new noisemaker. Yeah.
That's right.
I work loose.
He thought he was sitting on his sister, but he was talking.
I'm the height of naturalness, which is 6'3", I think.
That's why I was racing through the story, trying to get it out while you were still awake.
It's all right. It's usually the second lawn when he goes down. First one is a prelude to complete sleep.
We figured we'd get one quick comment out of you before you dozed off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. You were back to the drunken winos at the party.
The word doze, the verb doze, which was
does and doze.
No, not does, dem, and doze. I'm talking about the verb to doze, to fall asleep.
I thought it was a bunch of sheep. Or deer.
Yeah, but with Steve,
look at the does in the field.
Oh, DOES, I see. Okay.
With Steve, you can hear his REMs. You know, it's terrible.
Yes, I know that.
That was a cough drop when I was a kid called REM. Remember cough syrup?
Yes.
Now, how could you remember that?
I wanted to keep the conversation going. If I had said no, you would have gotten the dictionary and explained it to me. So much easier to say yes with you.
Okay. Now, what was I talking about?
You were talking about years ago, doze.
Oh, doze, thank you, yes. The word evokes the recollection of a verb, a noun, bulldozer. All one word, bulldozer. I have not heard
Which means that's not true.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes, when someone says this, you say bulldozer.
Oh, I see. Or Bill Dozier, who was a producer in Hollywood years ago. No, seriously, I have not heard that as a term of vituperation or contempt or a pejorative association.
Oh, boy, look out.
You're not talking to chopped liver here.
I understand.
For at least 40 years. But in my childhood, I was constantly hearing the word bulldozer. I guess it meant a sort of a conversational bully or social bully.
Well, bulldozer.
It means to roll right over somebody, to interrupt them.
To bulldoze, yes.
As in a bulldozer. However, why is a bulldozer, the big piece of mechanical equipment, called a bulldozer?
What else would you call it?
You got to call it a bulldozer because that's coming back from your childhood. That's where they got it from. Because bulldozing would be to go over things and crush them.
But why did they call the mechanical device a bulldozer in the first place?
Because they were either going to call it a bulldozer or George Foreman. It was big. They had to call it something.
Where is our dictionary? We had.
No, I understand. We don't have to go.
We have
I
the
know
dictionary
what you're
here.
talking about.
Could you look it up?
Look up bulldozer, and after the show, call us.
Do we know where the dictionary is?
It's right there. If you turn around, it's right at your right arm.
It's at my beck and call.
Here, I'll look it up.
Why do we say? I know about my call. What's
I'm not
my
gonna
beck?
Look that. I'm looking up one word.
No, give me.
Oh boy.
I just did a one-handed.
Look up hernia.
Give him the
Webster's.
dictionary. It'll keep him up.
He's got it.
Now, what word was I looking at?
Sleep.
Bulldozer.
Sleep. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, he's playing the piano.
Dowdy-ish. Oh, isn't that cute? Somewhat dowdy, it means.
We only have about a minute left.
Oh boy, hurry up! Get the bulldozer. We're in the D's.
Bulldozer, calliope, bull boot, blister plaster.
Let's go.
It's actually here.
Dr.
Blister plaster is a plaster generally of.
Buster.
Oh, amazing!
What happened?
I'm astounded. A blister plaster is a plaster generally of Spanish flies designed to raise a blister.
Or to make people excited.
No. You didn't have to belabor the point.
Well, I've got to help the joke.
Blanche. Blanche means white.
Blanche Dubois.
Did you ever notice how many black women in the old days used to be called Blanche?
I'm glad this hour is coming to an end.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm going to call my sister now.
Who wrote this dictionary? Jimmy the Greek?
You haven't really dated her in quite a while, have you?
Bewail.
It's time to send your sister
By
flowers.
conjugate. Bessemer. We're way past bulldozer.
This is Jimmy the Greek's third international unabridged edition.
Joe
It's the
Bessemer.
Jimmy the Greek. You look under bulldozer.
I went the wrong way from Boysenberry. From the corner of Boysenberry
and bulldozer
and Breviature.
Blister
Buckle.
plaster.
We're getting close. The light's blinking. Hurry. You've
Okay,
got to hurry.
go
here.
away
10
from
seconds.
It. I'll find
Hurry, you've got
bulldozer
10
when you come back.
seconds.
Buggy Bullist. Here it is.
There it is, bulldozer.
Remember Buggy Bullist?
I remember very
Played
well.
for the Chicago White Sox and
Yes,
the
second
Scandals.
baseman.
Bulldozer, one who bulldozers. Thanks a lot, Mr.
I
Webster.
told
Well, there you
that.
go. We'll be back in
That's
just
what
a
I told
moment
you before you got the dictionary.
with more of the Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network.
You're listening to the Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network.
Well, that's it for this hour of the Steve Allen Show.
How many seconds left, Mark?
30.
Okay, bulldozer, to bulldoze, perhaps from bullwhip, and dose, meaning to give a dose of the whip. Therefore, it should be bulldozer. Rest my case.
Well,
I
thanks
had a
to
dose of the whip once, and I took the medication.
thanks to Bob Einstein, who can be seen on Showtime on the Super Dave Osborne Show.
Yes, and thanks to Cincinnati for joining our daily cuckoo party, and thanks to Mark and Herb.
And thanks to Pro Piano for Steve Allen's piano. Our producers
And don't forget Debbie and Dick.
are Dick Brennan and Debbie Farr. And thanks for listening this hour to the Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network. Live from Hollywood and from New York, it's the Steve Allen Show. Coming up this hour, comedian Jack Carter. A look at Cincinnati. Herb Sargent. This is Mark Simone. And now, here's Steve Allen.
Yes, your basic big deal. Thank you very much, Mark. I'm setting aside my paperwork. The least I can do is give these people my undivided attention.
You will stay awake for this entire hour.
That I cannot guarantee, no. I mean, if you make it worth my while, but then again, how much is a while worth anymore?
We have a cattle prod. It's connected coast to coast.
Well, we'll get to Ask Dr. Allen later this hour, but in just a second we'll take one quick call because it's our first call from Cincinnati.
Oh, all right.
We began broadcasting there today, and our first call is coming from Cincinnati.
How nice. How fitting, which is more than I can say for your jacket, Mark.
So we'll get to that and more in just a moment on the Steve Allen Show on the NBC Radio Network.